Alright, one of the videos I've been meaning to do is one on why linguistics professors so often become public intellectuals. It's completely out of proportion to their numbers. Linguistics is a pretty obscure area of study, and I mean most of the time when I told people that I majored in linguistics, people had to ask, well, what's that? What's linguistics? And rightfully so. I mean, whoever hears about linguistics? Basically, it's the study of language, much like psychology studies the mind. Linguistics studies language, and there's all different ways that you can go about it. You can go about it in terms of the great big picture, in terms of language universals. For example, there's a whole list. We got a list of 82 language universals, which was any language that does X always does Y. And there's just all sorts of neat things you can do with it. One assignment I remember is taking a set of Russian nouns, and we had to figure out how the gender system worked. So anyway, linguistics is not something that you hear about every day. I mean, if you ever hear about linguistics, it's usually in relation to Noam Chomsky, or, you know, Steven Pinker gives a talk and they introduce him as the linguist at MIT. And in fact, the idea for this video came last weekend when I was watching C-SPAN. They were doing an in-depth interview with John McWhorter, which is another linguistics professor who has gone into the public realm to address cultural and philosophical issues. So he was taking call-in questions for this interview, and someone asked him this very question. They asked him, how is it that so many linguists end up going into philosophy and, you know, becoming public intellectuals? He thought it was a coincidence, but I do not agree with that. I think that the reason that so many linguists go into public discussions of cultural and philosophical matters is because of the skill set involved in both linguistics and philosophy. Now, I also majored in linguistics, and before that I thought very seriously about majoring in philosophy, but I mean, I don't have to tell you that that is just a hugely arcane, mind-numbing, pointless thing to do. So linguistics was a lot more fun. You basically got to do logic puzzles for homework, and you got to learn a lot of really neat things. So at any rate, the skill set, if you are interested in linguistics, it's because you enjoy not only language, but also careful, rigorous, analytical thinking. And this is not a very common combination. Usually people are either analytical or they are verbal. For example, most people will do better or significantly better on one side of the SATs than the other. They'll get high math but low verbal, or the other way around. And I myself was very even on the math and the verbal sections of the SAT. I did well on both sides. So when someone is good at both analysis and at language, they're going to want to do both of them at the same time. And that is exactly what philosophy is. Given a rational philosophy, philosophy is about applying rigorous thinking to concepts that are put verbally. So I strongly suspect that people who go into linguistics do so because it is a unique way of using their particular combination of talents. And if they're talented at linguistics, they're also going to be talented at philosophical issues. And if you have this well-balanced analytical verbal skill set, you're going to be using them both at the same time in your spare time. You're going to naturally start wondering about the logical implications of the things that people say, and you're going to want to trace these back to the fundamentals. So I think that one of the reasons that it's linguists that are going into the public realm in greater proportion to philosophy professors is probably that linguistics is just not the haven for postmodernism that philosophy is. I would not be surprised at all if someone did a poll of linguistics majors and found out that a lot of them had once considered majoring in philosophy. You can just imagine that if someone enters philosophy and not only stays in it, majors in it, but gets their their PhD, and they stay in the academic system, I mean, these kinds of people are just going to be mired in the usual postmodern bullcrap. And not only that, but they're probably going to be so bogged down in arcane useless controversies that they're just not going to have time to go out and try to address big public issues. Not only that, but they probably don't even think that these big public issues are even important. One of the postmodern philosophers, Richard Rorty, I have in my favorites a video where he explicitly says that philosophy cannot give us any answers, and philosophy is defined by what certain people have said in particular books, and that's it. So anyway, I could rant all day about the problems of philosophy. So that's my analysis of why it is that so many linguists disproportionately become public intellectuals. They have the necessary skill set, and their minds aren't corrupted by what is currently passing as a philosophy education.